I stopped drinking caffeine for 100 days. This is my experience and whether you should do it too.
No shortcuts, just endless sweat and pain. Every struggle is the path to gain. Thunder in my chest, drive like a train. Reaching new heights we will sustain. Even when shadows darken the road, remember the fire that inside us glowed. Victory tastes sweeter when you know you climb the mountain, carry that. Rise and grind, the world won't wait. Every step fuels a stronger state. Push it harder, never hesitate. In this world of life we dominate.
For the first few days I went without caffeine, I began to experience withdrawal effects. And these withdrawal effects came in headaches and in being tired all the time. Also, make sure to stay to the end of the video to hear the worst side effect I had while off caffeine. But after the first few days, these withdrawal effects from caffeine started to go away, and then I actually became very clear-minded throughout the rest of the 100 days. All the time, I basically felt normal. I didn't have, like, ups or downs, or I didn't feel, like, groggy or cloudy in the head some days. But all days, I pretty much felt very, like, in the present and there in the moment and clear-minded. Also, as the days went by, I began to notice that I had far less headaches than I would usually get. I'm a pretty headache-prone person, so I get the headaches pretty much every other day. But I began to notice while I was off caffeine, I didn't get headaches nearly as often. It had basically been cut in half the amount of times that I would get a headache. Now, I don't know the reason why I get more headaches when I'm on caffeine, because I usually take caffeine pretty regularly when I'm on caffeine, and so it's not like I start to experience withdrawal effects, but then I take caffeine again and it stops. So I'm not quite sure why I get less headaches when I'm off caffeine or more headaches when I'm on caffeine. As the days went by, I began to notice that it was harder and harder for me to stay away from caffeine. And it really makes you realize how much of a drug caffeine really is, how easily you can be addicted to it, and how hard it is to actually stay off of that addiction. And now I wanted to get to some of the bad side effects of coming off caffeine. When I was going through the 100 days of no caffeine, I noticed that I was hungry more often, and I noticed I started to put on more weight. Now, for me, that's not such a bad thing, because in the past I've had a lot of trouble putting on weight, but I realized that for a lot of people this might be a bad side effect, because I realize a lot of people have a hard time getting rid of weight. Now, I had heard before that caffeine is a diuretic and it keeps you from feeling hungry as often, but I didn't notice it ever until I had come off caffeine, and I began to notice that I was far more hungry far more often, and I would be eating a lot more than I usually would. Now I'm going to talk about the number one side effect that I experienced while off caffeine. But first, if you like this video so far, make sure to hit the like button, and if you like my content, make sure to subscribe. Now, the number one side effect that I experienced was something that I had never heard anyone talk about before. And that side effect is social anxiety. I had always had kind of a little bit of social anxiety, to where sometimes I would get nervous talking to some strangers in public, but it was never really that bad before. But then I noticed when I quit caffeine that my social anxiety started to get worse. And I think the reason that is because when you're on caffeine, you're kind of on a high, and when you're on a high, you're kind of more sociable. But when you're not consuming caffeine, you're not on that high ever, so you're never really that sociable, and so you kind of can't say things right, and then you get nervous and you can't speak right, and that's the number one thing that I noticed when I was off caffeine. Now, despite the fact that I experienced some bad side effects while off caffeine, I think the health benefits do make it more worth it, especially when you look into the fact that a lot of studies have shown that it can cause long-term damage to your liver and as well as to your intestines. And it's also been shown to cause damage to your adrenal glands inside your brain. And basically, over time, it can burn out your adrenal glands because whenever you consume caffeine, it basically makes an adrenaline rush. And your adrenal glands inside your brain basically can get burnt out to where it won't produce adrenaline, right? And basically, if you don't know what adrenaline is, it's that feeling that you get when something scary happens that makes you like very jittery, and it kind of like slows down time and you can think more clearly and you can act more efficiently. That's what adrenaline does. And over time, if you consume too much caffeine, your adrenal glands can get damaged to where it won't produce adrenaline, right? Or won't produce enough. Alright, that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. And if you like my content, make sure to subscribe. God bless you all, and goodbye.